So welcome back to the Sawmill, friends. It's a pretty exciting day here at the mill because we got a new log splitter to try out. You guys hang in there. Now some people might not be aware of this, but Wood-Mizer actually makes log splitters. And this is the largest one that they make, the FS 500. Now, this log splitter is powered by a Honda engine. You can't beat a Honda engine. I got several of them. That's the GX 630. And as far as the rating on that, it's 688 cc's. So right there behind the engine, friends, is the hydraulic pump. It's able to do 28 gallons per minute. Then you have the hydraulic tank right there beside it and the fuel tank on the other side. Then right there behind the engine in that black box is the battery. Now this log splitter does have a trailer axle underneath it. I was able to tow it home yesterday, and you can take it on the interstate. I was doing 75 miles an hour with no trouble, and I believe this machine weighs right at 3,000 pounds. And that right there, friends, is a really cool feature with this machine. You can take it anywhere you want to go. If you go get one of these log splitters from the big box store, most of them can only be towed down the road for about 35, maybe 40 miles an hour. If you go faster than that, you're going to have some problems. Around the front of the machine, you have two tables on both sides. As the wood comes through the box wedge right there, it comes up this tray, then it falls off the end. I'm probably going to set up a little dump trailer right there to collect the firewood in. The trailer does have lights on it, so there's no trouble towing it down the highway as far as the safety concerns go. You have two controls right here for the hydraulics. This is for the log lift, and this is for the splitter that goes back and forth. A log lift, friends, is a great feature for a splitter because who wants to lift that stuff up and put it on the splitter? That's the way to go right there. Then over here on the other side, we got the ignition switch, you got your choke and the engine throttle and the hour meter. All right, guys, here's how this splitter works. It's a box wedge design. Right there you have the push block in the middle, and it's bi-directional so it can split in both directions. Right there's the wedge. That's a 3-way. You can also get a 4-way and a 5-way. This one came with a 3-way and is the same on both ends. Now with your typical log splitter, when the hydraulic cylinder retracts, there's nothing really accomplished with that except setting itself up for the next split. With this machine, as it retracts, it's also doing the splitting motion on the other wedge, so you have no loss of energy, and I think it will make me a whole lot more productive. All right, guys, before we get this thing started up, we're going to be splitting some poplar today and some red oak. This machine is not brand new. It is a used machine, but it did come from Wood-Mizer. This was a demo that went around out west, around Texas, some places for some demonstrations over the past few years. So it does have some hours on it, but I'm okay with that. I knew this was going to become available in the past few months, and I went ahead and put my name on it because I really wanted to get one and test it out. So that's why it doesn't look all shiny and not have any scratches on it. This thing has been used a little, but that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. I knew that getting into it. friends, that's going pretty good. Once I get really familiar with the controls, I think it will go a lot faster. And I think here in a few minutes, I may put 2 logs up on there and see if I can split one at a time in both directions. But before we do that, I got one small problem. So right there's my problem, guys. I'm getting ready to have firewood laying on the ground. We've only did 2 logs so far, and it doesn't take long to build up, and these tables are just about full. Once we do the next one, that's a pretty good sized poplar. I'm pretty sure those tables will start overflowing. Therefore, I need to put something underneath the tables to catch the firewood. If not, I'm going to be bending over, picking it up off the ground. And as far as the size of the firewood, I like it pretty good, guys. I've got squares coming out mostly. A few of them I have thrown through the splitter twice to work them down a little bit more. I could see the need for the 4-way and the 5-way wedge to have smaller pieces, but this 3-way works just fine. I just have to re-split a few pieces, but that's good sized firewood right there, guys. I like it. So the dump trailer is taller than these tables. So I'm gonna move it out of the way, back the trailer in here, then gently lay the table on the side of the dump trailer. This thing's pretty thick steel. I think it'll be okay. And that should enable me to have the firewood come up the ramp and fall right into it, hopefully. Well, that's crooked. When it comes to backing up a trailer, it's easier for me to back a trailer that's 20 foot long. Well, the short ones are kind of difficult. Well, that's way too close. You guys may want to go pour you a cup of coffee and come back in a few minutes. I think that might work. Now, most YouTube channels would not have showed all those errors in backing up this trailer, but I like to keep it real. And when it comes to backing up small trailers, it's difficult. So friends, this is just temporary. As I start to get more familiar with this machine, I'll set up a more permanent location and a different way of loading firewood off the splitter. Should push it right up. I tell you what a good setup would be. Have this log splitter and have some kind of a conveyor system on the end of it to go straight up, then fall into a dump trailer, which I have. I may think about that long term. A conveyor on each side with a dump trailer on each side. That would be expensive. A dump trailer is about $6,000. I don't think I could use 2 of them, but you never know. And for those of you that are curious on whether or not I'm gonna start selling firewood, I'm giving it some consideration, guys, because I get a lot of logs here at my sawmill from tree services, and I would say maybe 40% of them are limbs, or they got metal in them, or they're rotted in the middle, and I could burn them. But I'm thinking with this machine and all my other equipment that I have here, I could turn them into a profit. But with firewood comes more infrastructure, IBC totes, maybe a conveyor system. There's some cost in it other than just this log splitter. So a lot of things to consider, and also market research to see whether or not in my area I can even sell firewood. So as far as the market research goes, guys, a good example would be if you're wanting to buy a sawmill. People reach out to me all the time. I want to get into sawmilling. What's the first thing do I need to do? What machine do I need? Before you buy the first piece of equipment, do some market research for the location that you live and see if there's a need for sawmill lumber. You know, if you live in a big city, there may not be a need for sawmill lumber depending upon what all's going on there and the regulations for sawmill lumber. Now, if you're in a rural area like Tennessee, out in the middle of the county somewhere, there's a big demand for sawmill lumber. And a good example would be a lot of people in the past few years that have relocated from these larger cities and moved out to rural areas for cost of living reasons and other stuff. There's a need for sawmill lumber because they bought a lot of the old farms that have been abandoned or just gotten forgot about by generations and generations of people, and they're no longer being worked. And a lot of those farms have structures on them and barns that have either fallen over or they've rotted almost to the ground and need eliminated from the property. And therefore they have to rebuild those to have somewhere to put their livestock and their feed and, you know, all the stuff the farm needs. So if you're in those areas, right now is a great time to own a sawmill because green wood that goes up for these barns is really, really high in demand, especially here. I get calls for it all the time. People always needing wood to build barns with, and here lately it's been a lot of people from out of state because the out of state phone number comes up on your phone. That's always the first thing I ask them is, where'd you move from? Because I don't recognize this number, and it's always like, I'm in Wisconsin, or I'm in New York, or I'm out here out west somewhere and I want to move to Tennessee because I hear all these great things. And the land I just bought has no barns. It's 100 acres with no barns, and I'm putting a house up. Now I need a barn. So that's the first thing they want to do is start putting up structures. So do market research, guys. Even with this firewood, not a lot of people burn firewood in Tennessee because the winters here are pretty mild. But if I do some research, I may find some customers out there that are looking for firewood I don't even know about. So know your market, do a lot of research, and make sure there's a need for what you're going to go after before you invest money in that equipment. Alright guys, this little temporary system I got set up is working pretty good, although that dump trailer got full pretty fast. That's the way it goes with firewood. You always have more than you think you'll have. And now we're going to change gears and try out something different. Some Tennessee red oak. Well, I'll tell you what, friends, it looks like I have another problem now. Lack of storage for firewood. I have one IBC tote down there by the timber frame, and it's already full. I mean, I could probably get maybe 20 pieces in it or something like that. It's full of hickory. It's already dry, so I hate to mix this stuff in since most of this is pretty green. A lot of this was in the forest just a few weeks ago, especially this red oak right here. Man, this stuff was heavy. I tell you what though, guys, honest opinion, I like this machine right here. It does a really good job. Once I get more proficient and more familiar with the controls, I think I'll get a lot faster. I was doing a lot of handling of the timber, probably more than I should have been doing. But it's just getting used to it, guys. Reaching over, grabbing that handle, the direction, learning how this machine responds to wood. You know, getting it lined up right with these wedges. I do think I'll order the 4 and the 5-way wedge though, because that would cut down on some of the re-splits on this thicker material right here. This is about my ideal piece of firewood as far as size go, and some of it was a little bit bigger because of the 3-way, which is fine. I'm not out here trying to kill myself, and I'm not doing this on a timer either. And it's kind of enjoyable, to be honest with you, sitting here running the splitter back and forth. I know why a lot of guys like to run log splitters for that reason alone. It's kind of therapeutic, I guess. Get you some hot coffee, and it's a good way to spend the day. For you guys out there that burn a lot of firewood, do you like to have a wood shed where you just stack it all and it's all put away for the year, or do you like these IBC totes? I got one IBC tote, like I was saying, it works out pretty good, but I've never had a proper wood shed either, so maybe I should do both. Let me know in the comments what works best for you guys. right, friends, right there is all I got split today. That's a pretty good start. Like I was saying, this is not uncovered, but at least it's off the ground until I decide what I want to do with my firewood situation here. But that's a good start with that splitter. That's about 95% poplar with a little bit of red oak. So it's about 5 o'clock, and I think I have time to get one more thing done today before the sun goes down. And that one thing is, friends, I'm going to come down here with the 754 and the lane shark. Try to trim those trees back right there. Got some maple in there and a lot of cedar and a dead walnut. And the limbs are coming over my side a pretty good distance. All these trees are actually in the fence line. I need to come down here one day and clean up this entire fence line. There's a fence in there somewhere. It's just hard to see with all the overgrowth. But I'm going to try to take advantage of the sunlight that we have left and see if we can trim these back a little bit. Alright, friends, real fast, if you're new to this channel, this is a lane shark. I got this at Oneida Equipment over in Oneida, Tennessee. So if you want to check them out, give those guys a phone call. Really good guys. They're also my TYM dealer for all my tractors. Real fast, there was some confusion the other day on my tractors. I sold the 574, it's 55 horsepower. This is the 754, of course it's a lot larger, it's 75 horsepower. And friends, if you ever see this tractor right here be sold for my property, that pretty much means I'm going to retire, because this is my favorite tractor, and as long as I'm able to work, this tractor will stay here. It's my favorite tractor. I can't emphasize enough how much I like that machine right there. So the lane shark is kind of like a brush hog. It's got some rotary cutters right there, and it does tilt in several different directions. And the hydraulic motor right there, I think that's an Eaton motor. It runs off the rear remotes on the tractor. You can run this off a third function valve, but I think the best way to run it, or the safest way, is probably with the rear remotes. And unfortunately, friends, it's getting pretty dark out here. It took me about 30 minutes to bring the tractor over and change the batteries and all these cameras and get set up. So I'll try to make about 2 or 3 passes and get some of this cut back for the night, and then we'll probably call it a day. Alright guys, let this tractor warm up for just a second. And on this lane shark, I've discovered that you're better off leaving it in one position and doing all your cutting, because every time you move the arms up and down on the loader, you do lose some of the RPMs on the cutter. So I like to just leave it in one position, and you know, if you have to make 2 or 3 runs, that's fine, but I think it works better that way. It's a really good attachment, guys. I use it here all the time. Tell you what, that thing just rips it apart. I think I lost a GoPro on that. Alright guys, that's all I think I can get done over here tonight. Having trouble seeing out this cab. Getting too dark on me.